we're coming to the time of the Antichrist very dramatically. Very dramatically. Now, I keep going back over to Europe because reading about it, hearing about it, it doesn't go deep enough inside if you're a preacher. You have to feel it. You have to get with it, you know. So about every month we go, and sometimes twice a month, we go and preach in the different countries of Europe. And we go across the Atlantic so many times until even the stewardess says, glad to see you again. You say, what do you say? I just hate that travel. But if you're going to get to the people, you have to go. You can't get to them in a rocking chair. A rocking chair has a lot of action. It just don't go anywhere. Yeah. In Hebrews 12:1 it says, now faith is. What is faith? A better word for faith is trust. I think you can understand it. We so abuse that little word faith until it's like a dish rag. It'll go anywhere. But trust. If you say, how much faith do I have? How much trust do you have? What is faith? I noticed you getting up and down here a little bit ago. And I didn't see one of you sit down slow. If that seat had been made of cardboard, you would. You say, why did I sit down hard? Because you saw the steel legs under there. And why would you sit down hard? Experience. What is faith? Experience. Yeah. Faith is experience. Faith is not magic. Faith is a life you live. And the reason so many people know so little about it, you think it's magic, and you're saying, give me faith, give me faith. God's saying, shut up, shut up. Because you don't know what you're talking about. You know. You say, Smith Wigglesworth had faith. He had a lot more than that, honey. He jumped out of bed about 7 o'clock in the morning and danced before the Lord for about 10 or 15 minutes, praising and magnifying God. You see, he didn't need an aspirin to get up and 2 to go to bed. Are you here? Yeah. Faith is a life that you live. And if you want faith to function in you, it is an act. It's not a dream, not a hope. It's an act that you perform. Faith can be so embedded inside of you until you make faith acts spontaneously. Yes. In fact, I've never seen faith that was nervous. When Paul said, settle down everybody, have a little food, everybody's safe. They were still holding on to those deck poles. And that old ship was chugging high and low. And they didn't know whether they were going to make it or not. He was the only one that had faith. Because faith is never nervous. You don't have faith. No, you have faith. Faith revealed through your eyes, a look of faith. Unbelief has its own look. Faith is something that, the way you walk, you know, you got it or you don't have it. Unbelief and doubt and depression gets into your feet even. Much less your eyes. Causes some of you men to lose your hair. Well, now, excuse me. When I was 17 years old, as the pastor said, I left my hometown in Panama City, Florida, to go out in evangelistic work. There were 2 things I didn't like. I didn't like churches and didn't like preachers. So I stayed away from them. I went out in the country to the schoolhouse. I swept the floor with myself. I had a little handbill printed, paid for it, and delivered it free of charge to the people. And started a revival meeting. I wasn't an exhorter, I was an exhauster. It was pitiful, you know. But when I left home, I had 65 cents in the world. Did you know I didn't realize that till I counted my money after I got into the revival meeting? I said, I started up here with 65 cents. And I got some bills to pay. Got to find a way to pay those bills. Did you know that I didn't worry about my 65 cents? And you know, most people say, yeah, I'm going to go out in the ministry, you know. I'm waiting for God to... Honey, you're going to die where you're sitting. God does not respond. Faith is an act. It's a spontaneous act. You do it without calculating. Can I do it? Can I make it? The Lord didn't do that on this building here. He just started building the thing. Said, money, get over here in a hurry. Those new buildings that Brother Billy Joe's building up here. He didn't wait until he got all the money. He said, come on, folks, let's walk together. And paid for it in cash. You know, that must have made the devil mad. Yeah, he don't like things like that. But faith is an act. And when it comes spontaneously, you're living in faith. Now, the devil don't want you to know that. He wants you to always say, oh, God, give me faith. You wouldn't know what it was you had. You wouldn't know what to do with it. Because faith is a life that you live. It just flows from you. I had to be told by somebody, said, did you know you had faith? I said, do it really? I didn't know it. If you'd asked me how I was living, I could tell you that. But I didn't realize that it was a faith motivation that was inside. I preached for a whole week to those farmers. No, I wouldn't call it preaching, really. I would say to those farmers, I want you to know I don't like you. And to tell you the truth, you stink. I was born in New Orleans, where we have Madison Avenue from New York. And we know how to cook, we know how to eat, and we know how to dress. You know any of it at all. And the only reason I'm here is because I was dying of tuberculosis. And God said if I would preach, I could live. Thank you for being here.